Most people believe that if something truly matters, it must be chased. They believe desire proves importance, and effort proves sincerity. Yet there is a quiet truth that life reveals again and again, often only after exhaustion sets in. The moments that arrive with the least resistance tend to stay. The things that come while you are running after them often slip away. This is not because life is cruel or testing you, but because life is precise. It answers not what you pursue, but what you quietly agree is already yours. Manifestation begins to work when the chasing ends, not because you have given up, but because something deeper has settled. Chasing is a confession. It says, "I do not have this yet." It says, "This is outside of me." Life hears that confession clearly and reflects it faithfully. It keeps the thing just far enough away to match the inner distance you feel. Life does not respond to your words or your effort. It responds to the state you are living from. When you chase, you place yourself behind what you want. You place it in front of you, somewhere in the future, somewhere that requires time, proof, or permission. In doing so, you step into the identity of someone waiting. Waiting feels patient on the surface, but underneath it is an assumption of absence. And absence, when assumed, becomes the condition life continues to show you. This is why so many people work hard, think positively, repeat phrases, and still feel stuck. They are doing many things, but they are being one thing, someone who does not yet have. Life mirrors being, not doing. It mirrors the role you occupy, not the effort you perform. You can spend years trying to convince life to change while never noticing that life is only echoing your inner agreement. To stop chasing does not mean to stop caring. It means to stop negotiating with reality. It means to stop leaning forward internally, as if fulfillment is somewhere else. When chasing ends, a subtle shift happens. The body relaxes. The mind becomes quieter. The question, "When will it happen?" slowly dissolves. In its place is a simpler feeling, harder to describe but easy to recognize. It feels like neutrality, like calm ownership, like no longer checking the door to see if something has arrived because you are no longer standing outside yourself. Children understand this better than adults. A child who knows their home does not ask every hour if they are allowed to sleep there. They do not perform tasks to earn the right to belong. They rest. They move freely. They assume. That assumption creates ease. Ease creates natural behavior. Natural behavior keeps the world stable around them. The home remains a home because it was never questioned. In the same way, life rearranges itself around what you no longer question, not because you demand it, but because there is no inner argument against it. Life reflects certainty the way a mirror reflects a face. The mirror does not decide what to show. It simply shows what stands before it. When your inner state is one of settled fulfillment, life has no alternative but to echo that fulfillment in form. Chasing creates noise. Noise confuses the signal. When you chase, your attention is always moving forward. You are mentally stepping into tomorrow, next month, or some improved version of yourself. But life does not operate in imagined futures. Life only responds to the state you are occupying now. The present moment is the only place where identity exists, and identity is the seed of every experience. If you identify as someone becoming, you will always be becoming. If you identify as someone waiting, you will always be waiting. These are not punishments, they are reflections. Life is not slow, it is exact. This is why effort alone never brings fulfillment. Effort can change circumstances, but it cannot change identity. You can force outcomes while still feeling empty, or you can shift identity and watch outcomes follow without force. The second feels unreal to those who have lived by struggle because it feels like nothing is being done. Yet something profound is being done. The inner argument has ended. When a person stops chasing, they stop scanning the horizon for signs. They stop asking others for confirmation. They stop measuring progress. None of this is discipline. It is not restraint. It is simply that the question has been answered internally. And when a question is answered, it no longer seeks. Life does not reward need. Need is not a mistake, but it is a state. And life reflects states, not intentions. A person who needs is saying, without words, "This is missing." Life replies, "Yes, it is missing," and maintains the condition so the inner statement remains true. This is difficult to accept at first because it removes the idea of life as something to be persuaded. It removes the comfort of rituals and effort-based hope, but it replaces them with something quieter and far more stable: inner agreement. When you agree internally that something is already settled, you no longer attempt to pull it toward you. You make room for it instead. Making room does not mean preparing physically or planning constantly. It means removing resistance. Resistance often hides inside urgency. Urgency feels like importance, but it is actually fear of absence. The more urgent something feels, the more you are announcing that it is not here yet. Life hears that clearly. Think of the things you already have that you value deeply. You do not chase them. You do not affirm them. You do not fear losing them every moment. You simply live with them. Your relationship to them is calm. That calm is not indifference. It is ownership. And ownership is the state life recognizes. Time behaves differently in this state. When you chase, time feels heavy. Each day is counted. Each delay feels personal. When you stop chasing, time loosens its grip. Days pass without weight, and often without warning, what was once desired appears as if it had been moving all along. This does not happen because you waited correctly. It happens because you stopped waiting altogether. Patience in its truest sense is not enduring delay. It is the absence of inner struggle. It is living as though nothing is missing, even before the world confirms it. That inner patience is not passive. It is steady. It is aligned. And alignment is the condition in which life moves freely. When your inner state and your desired state are no longer in conflict, there is nothing left to resolve. Life resolves itself. This is why forcing never works for long. You can push a door open, but if the room inside does not belong to you internally, you will never feel at rest. When something arrives through strain, it carries strain with it. When something arrives through assumption, it carries peace. To assume does not mean to imagine vividly or convince yourself emotionally. It means to quietly accept something as true. Acceptance is subtle. It is not loud. It does not argue. It simply rests. And when you rest internally, life begins to move. Not because you asked again, but because there is no longer any resistance saying, "Not yet." This is where manifestation stops feeling like a process and starts feeling like a reflection. You are not making something happen. You are allowing something already agreed upon to show itself. The world you see is not a test. It is a mirror. It reflects the posture of your inner life with perfect neutrality. When you stop leaning forward, the reflection changes. And this is where the real understanding begins. When the inner leaning forward stops, many people become uneasy. They mistake stillness for loss of control. They believe that if they are not actively pursuing something, it will disappear from their lives. This belief itself reveals how deeply chasing has been tied to identity. For a long time, effort felt like safety. Movement felt like proof of aliveness. But life does not ask for motion. It asks for agreement. Agreement is quiet. It is not excitement. It is not hope. It is a simple inner knowing that does not look for confirmation. When something is agreed upon internally, the mind no longer circles it. The emotional charge fades, not because the desire is gone, but because the desire has been fulfilled inwardly. And inward fulfillment is the cause, not the result. Most people believe fulfillment comes after manifestation. In truth, manifestation follows fulfillment. This reversal is the heart of the misunderstanding. People wait for life to give them permission to feel whole. Life waits for them to feel whole so it can reflect that wholeness. This is why chasing feels endless. You are asking the mirror to change first. Identity plays a central role here. Identity is not who you want to be someday. It is who you are being now, moment to moment, without effort. It is revealed by what feels normal to you, what you feel you deserve without argument, what you no longer feel the need to justify. If you identify as someone trying to get, life will keep presenting situations that require trying. If you identify as someone who has, life reorganizes itself around that quiet possession. This does not mean you suddenly receive everything at once. It means the struggle dissolves and the path becomes natural. Natural movement does not feel dramatic. It often feels ordinary. This is why many people overlook it. They are waiting for intensity, for signs, for emotional fireworks. But life moves through subtle rearrangements. A conversation here, a shift in timing there, an opening that feels obvious only in hindsight. When you stop chasing, you also stop interfering. Interference often comes from impatience. Impatience is not about time, it is about mistrust. It is the belief that if you do not push, nothing will happen. This belief places you above life, as if life needs supervision. Yet life has been arranging outcomes long before you were aware of wanting them. Consider how many things in your life arrived without effort, not because you did not care, but because there was no inner resistance. You did not argue against their arrival. You did not question your worthiness. You did not measure time. You simply moved through life and they appeared. This is not randomness. It is alignment. Alignment does not mean perfection. It does not mean you feel calm every moment or never doubt. It means that beneath passing thoughts, there is a stable assumption, a ground you return to, a sense of inevitability that does not need defending. Inevitability is not hope. Hope looks forward. Inevitability rests. It does not ask when. It does not ask how. It does not ask if. It simply assumes that what belongs to it cannot be withheld. This assumption changes your relationship with time. Time no longer feels like an obstacle or a judge. It becomes neutral. Days pass without tension. You may still notice the absence of what has not yet appeared, but it does not disturb you. It does not define you. It creates no urgency. Urgency collapses manifestation because urgency insists on lack. Calm expectation allows manifestation because calm implies trust. Trust is not belief. It is familiarity. You trust what feels normal. You do not trust what feels foreign. This is why imagining something without changing identity does little. You can picture a different life while still feeling like someone who is separate from it. Life responds to the feeling of separation, not the picture. To stop chasing is to stop placing yourself outside the experience you want. It is to step into it internally, not through fantasy, but through acceptance. Acceptance that this is your state now, even if the world has not yet caught up. This does not mean ignoring current circumstances. It means not letting them define you. Circumstances are echoes. They are not causes. When you treat echoes as causes, you become trapped reacting to the past. Life always lags behind inner change. This lag is not a punishment. It is simply the nature of reflection. A mirror does not move before you do. It moves as you do. When people first stop chasing, they often experience a quiet period. Nothing seems to happen. This is where many return to effort. They panic and resume pushing. But this quiet period is not stagnation, it is reorganization. It is the moment when old assumptions are losing their grip and new ones have not yet fully expressed. If you interrupt this phase with force, you reset the cycle. You announce again that you do not trust life to move on its own, and life, faithful as ever, reflects that mistrust. The deeper work, though it does not feel like work, is to remain inwardly settled during this silence, not waiting, not watching, simply living. Living as someone for whom the matter is already resolved. This is not detachment in the sense of withdrawal. It is engagement without tension. You still act, you still speak, you still make choices, but these actions arise from fullness, not from need. Need always tries to extract something from the world. Fullness allows the world to offer. Life responds differently to these two states. When you need, life resists, not out of cruelty, because resistance mirrors resistance. When you are full, life flows, because there is nothing to push against. This is why manifestation feels effortless when it works, not because no movement occurs, but because movement is no longer strained. Things happen through you rather than because of you. The mind often struggles with this because it wants credit. It wants to know what caused the change. But the cause was a shift so subtle it feels like nothing happened. You stopped insisting. You stopped arguing. You stopped chasing. And life, relieved of pressure, moved. This is the paradox. When you stop trying to make life respond, it responds. When you stop demanding proof, proof appears. When you stop asking when, time rearranges itself. None of this requires blind faith. It requires honesty. Honest observation of how life has always behaved in response to your inner posture. If you look closely, you will see that the experiences that stayed came when you were at ease with them. The experiences that slipped away were the ones you gripped tightly. Gripping is chasing in disguise. Letting go is not loss. It is trust in inevitability. And inevitability is not something you create. It is something you recognize. Once recognized, there is nothing left to pursue.
When inevitability begins to replace hope, something subtle happens to the way you move through your days. You are no longer scanning the world for signs. You are no longer measuring progress in small changes. The mind may still notice time passing, but it no longer feels like time is working against you. This is not because you have convinced yourself to be patient, but because patience is no longer required. There is no inner argument demanding resolution. This is often misunderstood as surrender. Many people think surrender means giving up desire or accepting less. But true surrender is not resignation, it is agreement. It is the quiet recognition that what is aligned with your state does not need to be chased or defended. It arrives because there is nothing opposing it. Opposition is not created by circumstances, it is created by inner disagreement. When you want something but feel unworthy, impatient, doubtful, or incomplete without it, you create friction. Life reflects friction with delay, confusion, or repetition of the same patterns. When inner agreement is present, the friction dissolves. This does not mean the world instantly rearranges in dramatic ways. It means the path clears. Obstacles lose their emotional weight. Delays no longer feel personal. And without resistance feeding them, many delays quietly disappear. The world is not responding to what you say you want. It is responding to who you are being while you want it. If your wanting feels heavy, strained, or urgent, life mirrors that heaviness. If your wanting feels calm and settled, life mirrors that calm. This is why people sometimes receive what they wanted only after they stopped wanting it. They did not stop desiring, they stopped needing. Need and desire are not the same. Desire can be light. Need is heavy. Need says, I cannot be complete without this. Desire says, this belongs with me. Life responds very differently to these two statements. Completeness is not something life gives you, it is something you assume. And assumption is not fantasy, it is familiarity. It is the feeling that something fits so naturally into your sense of self that its absence feels temporary and unimportant. Think of how you relate to things you expect without question. You do not emotionally prepare for them. You do not imagine them constantly. You simply know they will be there. That knowing is not excitement, it is neutrality. And neutrality is powerful because it contains no resistance.
Most people believe emotion fuels manifestation. In truth, emotion often interferes. Strong emotion usually signals attachment, fear, or urgency. These states announce instability. Life mirrors instability with inconsistency. The most stable state is quiet certainty. It does not fluctuate with mood. It does not rise and fall with outer events. It remains the same whether the world agrees yet or not. This is why inner agreement must come before outer change. Without it, any manifestation feels fragile. You fear losing it because it never felt secure internally. But when something arises from inner certainty, it carries that certainty with it. You feel at home with it. You do not grip it. Time plays a strange role here. When you are chasing, time feels slow. When you are settled, time feels irrelevant. This does not mean manifestation takes longer or shorter in any predictable way. It means your relationship to the waiting dissolves. Waiting only exists when you are aware of absence. When absence no longer defines your state, waiting has nothing to attach to. Time still passes, but it does not weigh on you. This is why forcing patience never works. Patience cannot be practiced. It emerges naturally when there is no inner conflict. When the mind is no longer divided between now and later, patience becomes unnecessary. Life responds to this unity. Unity is alignment. Alignment is when your inner state is not contradicting your assumed outcome. When there is no contradiction, there is nothing to resolve. The outer world is not slow to respond. It is responding perfectly to the pace of your inner settlement. The moment you stop changing your mind internally, life stops changing its answer. This is difficult because the mind is used to negotiation. It believes that if something has not appeared, it must rethink, adjust, or try harder. But these movements often reopen doubt. They signal that the state was not yet owned. Ownership is not declaration, it is rest. You know you own something when you stop checking on it. This is why silence is so important. Not silence of speech, but silence of inner commentary. When you are no longer narrating the lack, life has nothing to echo. Many people fear this silence. They worry that if they stop thinking about what they want, it will vanish. But what vanishes is not the desire. What vanishes is the resistance keeping it away. Life does not forget what you want. Life is not a mind that needs reminders. It is a mirror that reflects your state automatically. Once you understand this, you stop trying to manage outcomes. You allow them. Allowing does not mean passivity. It means non-interference. It means acting when action feels natural, not compelled. Natural action arises from identity. If you identify as someone for whom the outcome is normal, your actions will reflect that normality. They will not feel like steps. They will feel like life. This is why manifestation often feels anticlimactic. There is no moment of triumph. There is a moment of recognition. A quiet thought, of course. Of course this happened. Of course this arrived. It fits. That sense of fit is the true sign of alignment, not excitement, not relief. Fit. The world rearranges itself to create coherence between inner identity and outer experience. It does this effortlessly, without emotion, without judgment. It does it because coherence is its nature. When you chase, you disrupt coherence. You create distance between who you are and what you want. When you stop chasing, coherence restores itself. This is not a technique. It cannot be forced. It is a shift in relationship, a return to agreement. And agreement, once established, does not need maintenance.
When inner agreement is complete, there is nothing left to hold together. Life no longer feels like a series of problems to solve or goals to reach. It begins to feel like a response already in motion. This is not because every desire appears at once, but because the tension between you and life dissolves. You are no longer standing opposite your experience, trying to move it. You are within it.
This is the point where manifestation stops feeling like a subject and starts feeling like a simple truth. Life mirrors what you are in agreement with, not what you ask for repeatedly, not what you work toward anxiously, and not what you wait for while doubting. It mirrors what you have accepted as settled. Settled does not mean final in a rigid sense. It means decided. It means the inner conversation has ended. There is no debate about whether something is possible, allowed, or deserved. When that debate ends, life no longer has two instructions. It receives one clear signal. Clarity is powerful because it leaves no room for contradiction. Most people unknowingly live in contradiction. They desire one thing but identify as someone separate from it. They speak of faith while feeling tension. They say they trust while watching the clock. Life reflects contradiction with mixed results. When the contradiction ends, results stabilize. This is why manifestation often appears suddenly, not because life changed its mind, but because you stopped changing yours. The outer world was always moving in response to your inner state, but as long as your state shifted between hope and doubt, life reflected that instability. Once inner agreement is firm, life has no alternative. A mirror cannot argue. It cannot delay out of preference. It shows what stands before it. This does not mean every moment becomes effortless. Challenges still arise, circumstances still shift, but your relationship to them changes. They no longer threaten your sense of being. They no longer make you question the outcome. They become part of the movement rather than obstacles to it. This is where true peace appears. Not the peace of getting everything you want, but the peace of knowing that nothing essential is withheld. You stop measuring your life against imagined futures. You stop comparing your pace to others. You live from a sense of sufficiency that does not depend on constant evidence. Evidence arrives anyway. Life responds best when you stop asking it to prove itself. Proof is always delayed because proof assumes doubt. Certainty does not need proof. It allows confirmation to arrive naturally. When you stop chasing, you stop sending the signal of lack. You stop saying, without words, "This is not mine yet." And when that message ends, life stops repeating it back to you. This is why effort feels heavy when it is rooted in insecurity and light when it is rooted in identity. Action that flows from identity does not feel like trying, it feels like expression. It does not seek an outcome, it moves because movement is natural. Life recognizes this difference. It opens where there is ease. It resists where there is strain, not as judgment, but as reflection. Nothing is being withheld from you. Nothing is being tested. Life is simply being honest with you. When you chase, you tell life that you believe you are behind. Life agrees and keeps you there. When you stop chasing, you tell life that you are already aligned. Life agrees and rearranges itself accordingly. This rearrangement often feels ordinary. There may be no announcement, no dramatic shift. Things simply fall into place. Conversations happen at the right moment. Decisions feel obvious. What once felt distant feels close without effort. This ordinariness is important. It shows you that manifestation is not a special event. It is the natural result of inner agreement. It is how life functions when there is no resistance. The greatest misunderstanding is thinking that letting go means losing control. In truth, chasing is the attempt to control from a place of fear. Letting go is allowing from a place of trust. Trust is not belief in a promise. It is familiarity with how life responds to your state. Once you have seen this pattern clearly, you cannot unsee it. You begin to notice how quickly life mirrors calm certainty and how stubbornly it reflects inner tension. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop fighting time. You stop forcing outcomes. You return to yourself. And in returning to yourself, you return to the source of every experience you call manifestation. Nothing needs to be added, nothing needs to be summoned. There is only alignment to be recognized. When you are inwardly at peace with something being yours, life cannot keep it away. Not because you deserve it, not because you earned it, but because there is no inner state left that says otherwise. Life has no choice but to agree with your deepest agreement. And when that agreement is quiet, steady, and complete, the world becomes just as quiet, just as steady, and just as complete in response. That is why manifestation works when you stop chasing, not because you stopped wanting, but because you stopped arguing with life about who you are.